We have arrived into that special part of spring, the spring symphony. Coughing, sneezing, wheezing everywhere you go as pollen starts to blow out from trees and into our nasal cavity. Yes, allergy season is here, and as that symphony grows louder, so is the buzz around how climate change adds to this problem. Local and national experts have been weighing in as several recent studies are showing how allergy seasons are changing along with climate change. So, Kent, you went to figure out where the connection is, right?
I did, Jana. And like with anything climate related, we're not just talking about this year. Traditionally, this is a tough time if you are allergic to mold or tree pollen. But over time, climate data has changed how long these seasons last. And that isn't the only impact.
Look around right now, and it looks like a pretty normal spring. And the same kind of snapshot could also apply to another spring season.
So far, I am seeing just a typical allergy season.
But Dr. Pramod Kelkar, an allergist with Allina Health, knows that in reality, a lot of Minnesotans are struggling right now with snow mold and other issues related to our long, wet winter. Meanwhile, our pollen problems are just starting, and the annual Spring Leaf Index shows that even though it felt like we got a late start, watch the red. In the Twin Cities and areas to the south and east, spring leaves still beat their 30-year average.
Every year we are seeing patients who tell us that this year has been the worst than the previous one. And, partly climate change has to be blamed for that, because we know that because of climate change, the allergy season is expanding.
According to the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, pollen season is now starting 20 days earlier and lasts 10 days longer than it did in 1990 due to increased average temperatures. And it's not just the heat. Carbon dioxide levels are also increasing, and a recent study found that pollen production has risen by 21% as well in the same time frame.
The thinking is that the plant is actually getting more fuel. It's more robust in its growth. So yes, we see a longer allergy season, but there's some data to suggest that we actually see more pollen too.
Dr. Emily Onello is a family physician and studies the health implications of climate change for the University of Minnesota Medical School.
States in the northern tier of the United States are far more impacted by this, interestingly, than states down south.
She says that's based on climate evidence like growing season trends that are relatively easy to track. But she says the impact it's having on us is much harder to assess.
The challenge is that the symptoms are irritating and life impacting, but not always bad enough to see the doctor or go to the emergency room. So sometimes it's hard even for physicians to have a handle on how bad are things. So one of the interesting ways researchers are looking at this is actually tracking, sales of allergy medications, right? To see how bad are things.
The first thing people need to remember is that we have so many good treatment options available. You should not deny yourself the pleasure of outdoors just because you have allergies.
Now, according to the CDC, 1 in 4 U.S. adults reported suffering from seasonal allergies in 2021. But here's where the tricky part is. That was the first time they had ever tracked that. So it will take time to know if these longer seasons and maybe more pollen is impacting more people. Jana.
That's wild. And I heard a lot of this discussion this morning, too, with Angela Davis on Minnesota Public Radio. And they talked about allergy season being from March to October.
Yeah, and things like ragweed can play different roles, too, because the way that wind has changed things and how different kinds of species prolong things, it just kind of depends on what you're allergic to.
Yeah, there's so much out there right now. Well, thanks for looking into it, Kent. We appreciate it.